What we're doing is we are going back to section 4.1 and thinking about vertex form. 4.3 told us, hey, if we have these 3 points, we can put it in standard form. But 4.1 was telling us how to put equations into vertex form. If you remember vertex form, it is y equals a times x minus h, quantity squared, plus k. Now your worksheet is giving you 3 points, and the directions on your worksheet are telling you that the third point is your vertex, like I have labeled up here, that 4.9 is the vertex. And then the other 2 are just points on the parabola. So if you remember from 4.1, if you're trying to write this in vertex form, you have your h and your k value. The h and the k come from your vertex. But we need an a value. So to find the a value, you have to algebraically solve using your vertex and using one other point. So your vertex is hk. Now you can choose either 0, 0 or 8, 0, either one to be your xy value. I will choose 0, 0 because it's going to be easiest. So now what you do is you plug in y is 0. We're solving for a. X is 0 minus h, quantity squared, plus k. And then just solve for your a value. So you get this fraction of negative 9 over 16. And let me show you a little bit about the calculator here. If you were doing that fraction in your calculator and you typed in negative 9 divided by 16 and hit enter, you would get a decimal, negative 0.5625. Now, if you want to leave it in decimal form, that's okay. It doesn't specify here. But say you saw that decimal form and you thought, okay, I don't want to leave it in this decimal form. I want to go back to the fraction. You can either just look at your fraction, or there's also the option of hitting math. So everybody go from negative 0.5625. Have that in your calculator, negative 0.5625. Hit the button math right below the green alpha button. And then you should see a little arrow that says to a fraction. If you hit to a fraction and then enter, it will take you back to the fraction. If you hit the math button.
Or negative
5625. Math to a fraction. This one. So just hit enter. And now hit enter. There it is. Okay? So that's how you're going to switch between fractions and decimals on your calculator. That math button, it either says to a fraction or to a decimal. So you just use those to go to a fraction or to a decimal. So now that I have my a value, I can go ahead and write this in vertex form. Y equals a times x minus h, quantity squared, plus k. So there is your vertex form of that parabola. Remember, any x and y value that you would choose on that parabola would satisfy this equation. Okay, so when you're going to vertex form, you need to find your a value and then plug it back in. Now for standard form, that's a little bit different. Standard form is what we were doing last week. So if I have standard form, 0, 0, 4, 9, and 8, 0, I can use the 3 equation and then systems of equations setup to find standard form. Remember, your standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, if I'm using the same 3 points, what could be said about my a value? Before we find it, what could be said about the a value? Gabby? Exactly. And that's a nice double check, because if you do this and your a value is not the same, then you know something went wrong. So just like we did last week, we're going to use x and y, 0, 0. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, giving us c is 0. And then use x is 4, y is 9. 9 equals ax squared plus bx plus c, which is just 0. Julius, the only thing I want you to do for homework is the 2 problems on the back.
Okay.
Okay. So this gives us 9 equals 16a plus 4b. And then the last x value is 8, y value is 0. So we have 0 equals ax squared plus bx plus 0. So we're going to take our 2 equations involving a and b, and we are going to create our system. 16a plus 4b equals 9, and 64a plus 8b equals 0. How should I eliminate one of these variables, Cameron? Very good. And when you reduce here, you get that a is negative 9 over 16, which is good because remember that's what our a value was whenever we found vertex form, and they need to be the same. Then from there, go back to one of your equations and plug the a value in. If you want, you can just put 16 times negative 9 over 16 in a calculator. But don't forget, this just cancels out, giving us 9 equals negative 9 plus 4b. Yes, it's the same as 4.5. Oh, I understand. Yep. Just double checking. I gotcha. So now we have A, B, and C. We can write our standard form of the equation. Y equals A x squared plus bx, and then plus c. C is just 0, so we don't need to include 0 unless you want to.